So what you have here is a bit of a poncho, arms out, next arm. So you see, now I haven't done any stitching yet, but you see that goes actually over his hands. That's perfect, because once I sew it up, it'll actually come in a bit. And then we've got the sides here. So I'll measure off his waist. However, I'm going to start sewing this thing even before I put up his waist and stuff. Now, on the back, it touches the ground near his ankles. That's fine too. And the front, right, it's up a bit, like just below, like halfway through his shins. As he grows taller, obviously it'll ride up a bit and his hands will start to come out of it. The neck part, we can just increase. So when he gets taller, it'll actually fit him. Now I put his hood from his sweater through here, and that's perfect. So what I'm going to do is, for the sleeve part, arm out here. Oh, thank you. Oh, can you hold your arm out? Don't do that. Okay. You take it so that you see the edge where they're both down here. Well, what's going to happen is those are going to get folded up onto each other, so it becomes 4 pieces of material. You're getting smoked out here. So you see the 4 pieces of material, right? Oop. Then I'll run the thing through there and we'll sew it up. However, it's going to be a little bit backwards. There we go. Okay, so there's something for him to grab. And then I'll shave this down a bit because Eric wants to roast some marshmallows. Can't have a fire out in the woods. Put some marshmallows.
Am I gonna have like a 2 marshmallow stick?
You want to be able to put 2 marshmallows on it?
I'm just curious.
Well, I can do that if you want, but I wasn't gonna. There you go. Marshmallow roaster.
Thanks.
You're welcome. It's going to take time to do that. Okay, so this is a bit of a monotonous part. What you want to do, you just got to line up all your parts. Now, I'll be folding this jacket inside out again, or outside in, or whichever way you want to say it. This side's got the charcoal on it. It doesn't really matter. You can always just throw it in the wash and fix it up. Your front will always be your front. Your back will always be your back, because I've cut the neck part on one side and the long parts on the other. So even when you fold it inside out, it's still going to pop out that way. However, what we want to do is have it so that the seam is facing out, like this seam here. So instead of taking it and folding it outward, which will end up after I fold it inside out, we'll keep the seam on the inside. You measure from your thumb up, and then you fold it up to that distance. However, I'm going inside because I want my seam on the outside. So very easy to tell again. Just lay your thumb on it. Yep, looks like it's about that distance. Again, it's not an exacting science because it's all choppy anyway. But it'll give you your starting point. Once you have your starting point, you can go from there. Now to measure your string, what you do is I double it. So I give about 6 inches in front of the sleeve, go all the way to the joint, the armpit. Then I'll go down about a foot, because that's roughly his waist. Then I go back up and back to the front. That gives me an awful lot here. That's it. As long as you can grab it on the other side and pull. Give a couple inches on each side of it. But no panic, because once I get to the end here, I'm probably going to tie a knot anyway. I'm going to bring Eric in to start doing some of this too. I don't like doing it completely for him. However, this might be a little tough for kids to do. So what you do is about halfway through where you have your thumb spot, find halfway through, and you literally start pushing the needle. Now I rotate the needle until it just touches my thumb, because you don't want to heave it in because you'll stab your thumb. I know this from personal experience. It does hurt. Okay, so once you get it in like so, then I grab the other side, I start to pull on it. Now what'll happen is I'm rolling it and pulling, But you're probably gonna have to grab the material one piece at a time, getting smoked out here, one piece at a time until it pops through. Right? There we go. Another one. For the two middle pieces, try and hold those together so you're not chasing everything, but however, I don't think it's going to happen for me. Now this blanket I'm using is an older one. The one I used for mine was a new blanket, so the materials are still a little loftier. The older one's kind of bound together and crushed together, but that's okay. That's alright, it still works. Pull so you get almost the whole string through. This is your starting point. Leave a half a foot. And this is really tough. Tie a knot. If you don't know how to tie knots, tie lots. It's a good idea to learn a few knots. I don't know any, so I just tie a box knot. Okay, I know one. A box knot. But again, I leave a little extra here so you can have a bit extra, do whatever you like. You'll find that your knot pushes your string off to one side or the other. Might as well go on the outside. What you want to do though, is you're going to bend it and twist it. I want it so that the seam, the thread that I have sticking out, faces forward. So you have to kind of watch to see what you're doing. So I know laying on me is the front. The back is here. On touching me is the front. So when I fold it back, I see the V in the neck. I hold the sleeve up, and I know this side facing me is the side that's going to be exposed to the front. That's the side where I want to leave my my design. So what you do is keep everything even. Width of your thumb. Lay it down there so one half of your thumb is touching the hole. And the other half is where you put it in. So I'll show you that. And you confirm. Easy enough. You just grab the blanket on the inside and make sure, yeah, 1, 2 pieces flap on each side. So you know you got it right. Oh, thank you, bud. Whoop. Whoop.
Oops, sorry about that.
Good job. Good marshmallow. You can eat all the marshmallows. There we go. So you pull it through. And you'll see you have the string. The tag is on one side. So when I pull on it, I end up with a piece of string coming through. So you end up with a little loop. Okay, so you see the tag that I've left in the front here with my knot, and I've pushed it through to the other side here. So that's my part with it attached to the needle. This part here, this loop, what I want to do is that's my seam facing the bottom because I bent it over. I just push the needle back up through the hole. This is all purely decorative. You don't need to do it this way. You can do it any way you like. I do it this way just because I like the end state, the end how it looks. So then I pull this, hold that, pull that down, bring it up through, and pull. So that is what I end up having. And then the next one goes through, and that's how it's all going to end up. And I'll keep going. So again, put my thumb down here. That's my width. So you see the thumb right on the side. The needle goes through to the other side of my thumb, like so. Rotate it. My fingers on the back end there. Now, you can also measure how up you want to go, because I'm going to actually bring it up a little bit more. So width-wise, I know height-wise, I like where it is. Width-wise, again, I feel inside, I can still see my two seams. All right, push. Again, you rotate. If it's not working, you could grab one piece of material, pull it through, There you go. And then the other ones will start to follow suit. Again, twisting your needle. Whew, that's tough to do. It's definitely hard on the hands. Now, you'll notice that this has all come loose. Don't worry about it. As you go along, it tightens up again. So again, you see where I have the part up. So I pull on that, make that taut. Pull it up through here. Tighten that. And then I bring my needle back up through. And you just pull taut, and you just keep repeating. You see how it looks like that? And then as I go through, you keep going up underneath. That way you end up one above the other, and it keeps going. It gives the same pattern all the way along. That's a little wider, but that is the width of the thumb, just a little less. And the next one will start being the width. So you can see that I'm getting there. By the way, for those of you who are adamant about all the right terms and whatever, I believe this is called a blanket stitch. Go figure. So I'm working on sewing all the way down here. This is the joint. I'm just, again, turning it all in. I'll be turning in the same joint and turning it down until I get about a foot down. It's all going to be one seam sticking out. It will bunch up under the arms, but because I've given myself so much extra room, you're not going to notice the bunching up under the arms for when it turns. Right? However, I might just not put the blanket stitch in when I do that one part there and just do some fancy folding. But I'll know that when I get to it. One thing you want to also keep in mind is sometimes these, because they're uneven, you're not going to be perfectly straight with all that. Don't panic over it. However, try not to get it so you end up with 6 feet in there and kind of goes up on a weird angle. So just try and follow it along. Let it fold under its own power. But pay attention. Right? And that should work. One other thing to keep in mind, guys, is this is very hard to do. It's you're pushing and pulling, and it's not an easy task. So that's the other reason when you're handcrafting, especially out in the woods. I mean, yeah, it's nice to be sitting out here in the beautiful outdoors, kind of messing with it, but it's a tough thing to do because you're heaving on it. Like I'm using a lot of pressure here just to poke this thing right through these little holes. That's one. I just popped one. I'm just working on one side of the blanket right now, the second part. And it's tough. There you go, finally. And then now I'm working on the second half. This is all the one hole. Alright, now I'm sure, again, if it had a better needle, like maybe a sail needle or whatever, it'd probably be a lot easier. But then that defeats the purpose of using my wood needle that I carved out of wood here on site. Because there's just something about that makes this whole process about 10 to 15 times cooler. Okay, what I've done on that one was I pushed it through, but the inner seam didn't go through. So I have to make it longer on the inside. Which means this is going to bunch up a little bit, but it's alright. We'll get it squared away. Use my multiplier to grab the needle and help pull it through. Just saves me a little bit of wear and tear on my fingers. Mind you, put some wear and tear on the needle. However, I did carve it out of a piece of wood, so I'm sure if I use it all up and it becomes garbage, I just throw it back in the ground. Found it on the ground, so I won't be too upset. So almost done. The arm, I've only got to go down about half a foot for his waist. So as he grows, you can always extend that with just more string.